Thank you, Mr. Miles. That leads us to our third question, which is focused on the issue of transparency. This will be to Mr. Miles to start. The question is this: what is the Open Checkbook program? How do other municipalities use it? And what benefits would it bring to Long Beach if it were implemented? What is your stance on using it here?
Thank you very much for asking me that question and giving me a chance to explain it. Open Checkbook is not only used by municipalities, but it's also used by states: Massachusetts and Alabama, Missouri, Ohio, Florida, Texas. Here in California, the city of Hercules uses it. What is it used for? It is, number one, it assures the population that the transfer of funds from the taxpayer to someone for goods or services rendered happened, and it happened under the guidance of their leaders. I've talked to the people who put it in place in Massachusetts, and it has had a positive effect on the frauds. There have been a couple of frauds in the last 10 years, and they were caught almost instantaneously. So does it have an effect to stop everything? Probably. I wasn't sure if it would, but I can tell you that if we had had this in place, the transfers of funds from our auditor to her campaign managers and other close associates would have been there for us to have seen. Would that have caused the stop of it? I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Laura Dowd, the same question to you, and I'll read it again. What is the Open Checkbook program? How do other municipalities use it? And what benefits would it bring to Long Beach if it were implemented? What is your stance on using it here?
Yes, I would support using it here. I don't know what other cities are doing. However, I do know in the city of Long Beach that we have an open budget process. All of our budget meetings are held open to the public, and every department budget is open to the public to see that. And I would like to say in response that all of payments from the city auditor's office were all made in the open, normal, ordinary course of business, how all payments are processed through the city. And so right now, I support more transparency if there's more ways to do that. And I support the way that has been done in the past with having open budget meetings for the public.
Thank you, Ms. Dowd. Our fourth and final question for both of these candidates centers on the 2020 Olympics preparations, and we'll start this time with Laura Dowd again. The question is this: the city has a handful of high-profile, high-cost projects, including new pier, new pool, transit extensions, that it intends to complete before the 2028 Olympics. How would your office exercise its oversight authority to ensure that these projects are funded appropriately and that there are no cost overruns at taxpayer expense?
Yes, I would make sure that, well, what are the priorities of the projects? First of all, where is the money coming from? How will we fund these projects appropriately? Ensuring that there is proper oversight on these projects, and and also, again, I think there's ways to establish dashboards to show where the money is coming and where it's going, and ensure that because we're talking about a lot of money with a lot of projects right now in a very short period of time. So we would want to make sure that we kept an eye on how the city is prioritizing these projects and how they're reviewing the bids and ensuring there's proper scopes of work, and ensuring that keep an eye on change orders, because that is always something that causes projects to go on overruns. And if you don't have a proper scope of work, then it's much easier to have cost overruns. So that is something that I would specifically keep my eye on, and making sure that we have open bidding process and proper oversight.
Thank you, Ms. Dowd. The question to you, same question, Dan Miles. I'll read it again. The city has a handful of high-profile, high-cost projects, including a new pier, new pool, transit extensions that it intends to complete before the 2028 Olympics. How would your office exercise its oversight authority to ensure that these projects are funded appropriately and that there are no cost overruns at taxpayer expense?
Thank you. This is an awesome question, and thank you very much for asking it. I was very involved in the 1984 Olympics here in Los Angeles and also Long Beach, as we did archery and sailing and volleyball. It was a wonderful time to be involved in the Olympics. I was working for Ernst & Winnie at that time, and as my job, I had to sit at the finish line and watch Carl Lewis come by. I sat at the scorer's table at the Forum and watched Michael Jordan team come through. I got to watch Long Beach's own Tim Shaw at Pepperdine and water polo. What I would talk to the team and to the auditors is this is a very exciting time to be involved. We would start early working with the people who have drawn up the contracts to help them look through what the payments were and make sure that they had done all of their due diligence and had met all of their marks before the payments were made. This is something that, if done right, like Peter Uberoff did, the financing will come from the Olympic Committee, most likely the LA Olympic Committee. I have several times approached them and said, I would like to be involved as a volunteer. And they keep telling me, we're only having paid positions now. Would you consider a paid position? I've said, no, I would like to volunteer. I'll do it for free because it will be fun. But building and using city money is more like when we were building the bridge, paying for City Hall, and building the Middle Harbor, over $4 billion of construction activity at the same time while I was at the port. We did it, it's done, and I think the city's a better place for it. And boy, this is going to be fun in 2028. Looking forward to the Olympics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. And thank you both for engaging on all four of our questions this evening. We are going to move now to closing statements of 2 minutes each. And this time we'll start with Laura Dowd. When you unmute yourself, we will begin your clock for 2 minutes.
Well, thank you again for having me tonight. It's nice to look out and see your faces, even though we're not all together in the same room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being involved in our city government. I know during my time as city auditor, I have tried to make myself as available and as accessible as possible. That's been a very top priority of mine. I've spoken in every single council district. I've never turned down one speaking assignment that I've asked to speak to. I've been proactive at going out to neighborhood associations, business associations, listening to what's important to you. That is important to me. The people, the residents, that is a priority to me. Being here for 16 years, I've learned a lot. I feel like I'm just getting started. But one of the things I really have appreciated are the ideas, the suggestions, the recommendations that come from associations such as this. And I would like to do more of that. It's been a pleasure and a privilege and a very rewarding experience. Finding and auditing and finding money that is due to the city and seeing the fruits, the results that come from the money that's being brought in. With the Harbor Initiative audit that we did, it was a transfer from the port to the city. There was a flaw. Our office identified the flaw. Again, it needed a vote. It easily passed. From 2010 to 2022, it has brought in $150 million. I just want that to settle in for a second. $150 million. When you see all of the projects at the coastline, in the at the bike path and on our coast and in the Thailands area, All of those projects were done because of the money our office identified and the flaw of the transfer and taking it to the vote and having it pass, and that money being used to restore Colorado Lagoon and the restrooms and the parking lot and many other things. And it's just a very rewarding experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura Dowd. And to Dan Miles for your closing statement of 2 minutes.
Thank you, Association, again for the opportunity for us to be heard. I'm thankful that I had a career that has given me the experience and expertise to serve as the city auditor, of which I've lived my life. Safeguarding our money as watchdogs focused on performance and finance are what matters most to a sound fiscal management of city government. The searchable database of open checkbook, ensuring that the water and sewer ratepayers receive the full refunds of the fees that were transferred under Measure M, and auditing the areas that are most financially benefit to us are what will restore the faith in our local government. Here are two numbers I want you to remember, 35 and 16. I have 35 years of combined public and private experience as a CPA that has prepared me for this task. 16 years is way too long for an auditor to be in place. Independence was the first thing to go, and then the integrity. While we've had one auditor for 16 years, we've also had 4 presidents and 5 police chiefs. Sarbanes-Oxley, which governs all publicly traded companies such as the ones I led, requires a new auditor every 5 years. It's time for fresh eyes on our money. Taking money from the state and giving it to the city is not a way to sustain long-term growth. It is a way to get the state's attention to where one day they may say, that's enough. And in which case, if you think the money that's been missing from the growth in local property tax can be made up, I've got news for you. It probably won't be. It's over $100 million a year. So if you're concerned like I am about the future of our city, I want you to join me and vote for me on June 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Thank you, Ms. Dowd. We'd like to thank all of you for your time and answering some focused specific questions to our area and our constituency. We thank you very much for your time. And with the BSRA, we'd like to thank all the participants this evening, as well as all the residents who turned out. And we'd also like to remind you that these videos will be up on the website of the BSRA soon. And you could also look at the questionnaires that each of the candidates answered before their participation this evening. We encourage you to get further educated and learn more of the issues and the responses. We know this is an engaged election cycle for all. And I'll turn it back to Julie for final comments.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Terry. And thank you to all of the candidates. Thank you everyone for attending tonight. As Brian said, you can view the videos from our previous 2 candidate forums that covered mayoral and council district 3 offices. They're on our website. The link is in the chat. And the link for tonight's event will be up there on our website in a few days as well. Additionally, the BSRA meets the second Thursday of every month, where we have guest speakers from City Hall and around the district to provide updates and address important and timely issues. You can go to our website for more details on our meetings and to learn about joining the BSRA. We've put all of that into the chat, and we'll leave it there for a few minutes. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your evening and take care.
Peace and happiness, everyone. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.